What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 358 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube and on X. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X and Instagram. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We are so close to 500 subscribers. We are trying to get to that before we can get to any bigger goals. So with your help, we could definitely make it happen. So if you haven't subscribed already, definitely do so. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell any volleyball fan to subscribe to IE Sports Radio. And who knows, maybe we'll get more volleyball content. Also, check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our hopeful blog to be back soon, and so much more. For the last 12 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Before we get on into the volleyball action, we're going to talk to you all on what we're all about. So I will see you all in a little bit.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows and definitely check out our website. We definitely appreciate everyone for helping keep the lights on here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Set Point is on Insta or on X and TikTok at set_point.ie. You can also follow me on X as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. That's my personal account. You can also follow me on Instagram at set_point.iesr, and Set Point is also on Facebook. I'm just going to adjust my camera. Fortunately, it looks like there's going to be some sort of glare in the background. Looks like, okay, looks like we got it. Sorry. I want to give you all the best quality camera content possible. And all right, that'll probably be as good as it gets. So anyway, so yeah. Set Point is also on Facebook. That's also tethered to my Instagram account. So there's that right there. And you also can follow me mainly on Instagram as well. A month ago, I did actually surpass 2,500 followers, which I thought was pretty awesome, if you ask me. I just definitely appreciate that. I definitely got to make a video thanking all of my followers, just because I haven't been really given the time to do that, just because I've been busy and all that sort of thing. But anyway, with that being said, let's get on into the volleyball action. So there wasn't a whole lot of volleyball action happening this past week. I mean, there was some League One volleyball news regarding all of the teams and who the players will be coming into the league and the transactions happening. Well, not transactions, but like the new board members of like certain new teams, like for Love of Los Angeles. Like that's going to be a team I'm going to be following quite soon, and I can't wait to see what their roster is going to be looking like. So So there you have it right there. And yeah, but there wasn't too much happening. Last week was kind of the 4th of July week, and we didn't really have too much happening in the world of volleyball. The AVP was still on break. The VNL had a week-long break from the men's and women's side. But now let us get into the volleyball action. So we have week 3 of the VNL. But before we get on into that, we actually need to talk about the women's national team for week 3 of the women's VNL. So, sorry, I really can't. It's like, why did I have to have such a glare in the background in terms of my spot? For now, this will do. I'm sorry. This glare is just kind of annoying me, and it's like, all right, there we go. All right. So the women's national team for week 3 of the women's VNL. So it's basically the same. So it's nothing ultimately changed, nothing groundbreaking. I was a little surprised we didn't see too much change in terms of the roster, but I guess the U.S. went with the whole "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" mantra, which I guess is fine. I mean, the U.S. is in first place when it comes to the women's VNL, but they're clinging to that first place spot. So when it comes down to it, I think the U.S., I think they could have made some sort of change, but I guess it's fine. I mean, I hope Eric Sullivan and the rest of the USA staff know what they're doing, but we shall see. All right, so in case you're living under a rock, the roster consists of Micah Hancock, Jordan Poulter, Avery Skinner, Morgan Hance, Asia O'Neill, Lexi Rodriguez, Simone Lee Wank, Sage Kaina Torres, Jordan Thompson, Dana Retke, Chiaka Agbagu, Maddie Cubic Banks, Molly McCage, Logan Eggleston, and Stephanie Samity. So there you have it. That's pretty much your week 3 roster for the women's U.S. national team in volleyball. All right, so there's that right there. And looking at the schedule, they've got Thailand, Poland, and Turkey. And we can't forget about Brazil, which actually is perfect segue to go into week 3 of the women's VNL. So this is it. The final week of the women's VNL before the final. So looking at the standings going into this week, you got USA and Brazil both at 7-1. Both have 20 points, but the U.S. has a better set ratio, which I think is pretty cool. Then you also have Italy and Poland. Italy, Poland, Japan, Turkey, Canada, and China. Or I'm sorry, not China. Turkey, all 3 through 6 basically are all 6-2. Italy, Poland, Japan, and Turkey are all 6-2. And then in 7th and 8th place is China and Canada. I mean, China's already clinched its spot in the VNL finals just because, for starters, they are hosting the VNL finals, and that means now it boils down to the next 7 teams. And then also in the hunt, you've got Netherlands, Czechia, both at 4-4. Then Germany, Belgium are both 3-5, though Belgium's point total has seen better days. Then Serbia and Thailand, as well as Ukraine and Bulgaria, all are 2-6. And then Dominican Republic and France are both 1-7. So the interesting thing about that is that both are in danger of relegation. So that's something to keep an eye out for when it comes to those 2 teams. I know people don't really care for the bottom, but the team that finishes with the worst record in the VNL gets relegated, while the team that has the best ranking will be promoted into the VNL for next year. So they got, in case for those that missed it, FIVB got rid of the Challenge Cup because it basically was like the NIT or something. I mean, it's obviously for promotion, but it just felt like the team that was the highest ranked won it more often than not. So, and also kind of put other players at risk for injury, which they definitely are now going to avoid. So there you go. All right, but that's the standings for going into this week. So now let's start off tomorrow. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific time, you got Turkey taking on Poland. So this is going to be, right off the bat, we've got a really fun matchup. Turkey is number 3 in the nation, or not nation, number 3 in the world, while Poland is number 5 in the world. So this is going to be a very, 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 very good spot. And whoever loses pretty much is probably going to be seeing their hopes of clinching a top seed come to a close, which would really suck. But sometimes that's just how it is. But it's going to be a barn burner of a match. Both these teams, not a lot is separating these teams, as Poland has 17 points along with that 6-2 record, while Turkey has the 6-2 record and they've got 15 points. But as long as Turkey has Melissa Vargas, this team is nowhere near out of it. But Poland has some darn good players of their own. So if Turkey thinks that if either team's thinking that they're going to get an easy matchup, they got another thing coming. So I imagine this one's going to be a barn burner. Whoever wins will still keep their hopes of getting the top seed alive. They're going to need a lot to go their way, but this is already right off the bat a really good matchup. And then next up on Tuesday, you got Belgium versus the Dominican Republic. All right, so this is one of those matches where this could matter for relegation. Dominican Republic is clinging to the 17th spot, and they know they can't afford to lose. But Belgium, they obviously have Britt Herbots. I mean, Belgium would need a lot to go their way in order to make it to the VNL finals. But they're probably playing for glory, but Dominican Republic is also playing with house money. So this matchup will actually be starting at 11 or 8:30 Pacific time. So this one's, I can see why they kind of lumped this one right here, just because it's not going to be as exciting as Turkey Poland. But I think this is going to be a very exciting matchup. I think both the Belgium definitely has a lot of fire in the tank. I mean, they've gotten quite a bit unlucky when it comes to their matches, but they have a chance to pretty much end their VNL run on a high note. And then closing off the Tuesday matches, you got the United States taking on Thailand. So Thailand is ranked 21 in the world, while USA is ranked number 4 in the world. This doesn't really have too much explanation to do. I mean, you don't really need to. I don't need to explain this too much. I should also mention that the three teams that are hosting this week are Japan, China, and Serbia, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, China is going to be hosting the VNL finals, but I think it's going to be in a different location. But I digress. But the U.S. is going to be in Osaka, Japan. So basically, this is the U.S.'s best chance at getting at least one win. If they can't beat Thailand, we have problems here. But yeah, the U.S., this is pretty much, and I hate to say this about Thailand, this is pretty much a gimme game, as big of a gimme game as it is. So yeah, for the U.S., this has win written all over it, unless Eric Sullivan plays the wrong players. So there's that for Tuesday's matches. Then we trickle on into the early Wednesday matches. You got Ukraine versus Italy. All right, so Italy, they are ranked number 3 in the VNL standings. And in addition to that, they are ranked number 1 in the world, while Ukraine is ranked number 18. So as we all know, this is Ukraine's first VNL on the women's side. I mean, Ukraine has literally nothing to play for. I mean, I doubt they're making it to the VNL finals. I mean, they would, even if they win all their games, they're still 6 and they would still be 6-6, which is probably not going to be enough to make it to the VNL finals. But you never know. But yeah, this matchup is an intriguing matchup. I mean, it's a young Ukraine team taking on an Italy team that is number 1 in the world. I mean, I can't expect this to be a barn burner matchup, but maybe Ukraine will play to their potential. Can play to their potential and challenge Italy, but Italy ain't losing. All right, next up, you got Japan, the host team, taking on Brazil. All right, Brazil had themselves a little bit of a tough matchup, losing their final match in week number 2. But now they take on a Japan team, and this is an very interesting matchup, just because Japan is number 6 in the world, while Brazil is number 2 in the world. Brazil is also number 2 in the VNL standings, while Japan is number 6 in the VNL standings, which I think is pretty. Or I'm sorry, Japan's number 5 in the VNL standings. But this has a lot on the line here. Like, Brazil is fighting for the top seed, while Japan is also kind of fighting for a top seed. I mean, this one can go either way. I mean, Japan, they're scrappy defensively, but Brazil has the offense to basically keep up with anybody, and that can beat anybody. So for me, this one is a coin flip. I imagine Brazil is going to win this one, but you never know when it comes to Japan. I mean, Brazil has Ana Patricia and Julia Bergman as well, among others. But you never know with Japan. Japan obviously can have their best match, or they can obviously have their clunker match. But I imagine Japan playing at home, they would be getting their best match. But we shall see. All right, next up, you got France taking on Netherlands. So Netherlands is clinging to the 9th spot. They're right behind China, which technically means they're 2 behind the final spot, or they're the second one out. Meanwhile, for France, they're fighting not to get relegated. I mean, Netherlands, I can't imagine them losing. I can't imagine Netherlands losing, just because Netherlands does have a few good wins under their belt. And Netherlands has caught a few bad breaks here and there. But I think this week, Netherlands definitely has a chance to shine. I mean, they're going to need to surpass Canada in order to make it to the VNL finals, just because China is already a lock. And then France is playing with house money, but here's the problem. Netherlands, they're fighting for something. So obviously Netherlands is going to be playing their A team. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. All right, next up, you got China taking on Canada. So as we all know, China is ready to go for the VNL finals. No matter what happens, they're going to be playing in the VNL finals in a couple weeks. Well, Canada is fighting for a spot in the VNL finals. Canada is technically the last team in. So they're the final team in, while China's already booked their spot into the VNL finals. Here's my thing for Canada. They're definitely a dangerous team. Obviously, they have that win over the United States, but they cannot underestimate China by any means. And every match going forward for them is precious, just because you never know when a team is going to be getting hot and when a team is going to be getting cold. So I think Canada is going to have to really play their A game if they want to win. But if they do so, then they will deservedly so clinch a spot in the VNL finals. But you'll have to wait and see. All right, next up, you got Czechia taking on Germany. So Czechia is also fighting for a spot in the VNL finals, while Germany is pretty much fighting for glory. I forgot to mention that China's number 7 in the rankings, in the world rankings, while Canada is ranked number 11. All right, and then I guess I should mention France-Netherlands. Netherlands is ranked number 8 in the world, while France is number 15. So back to Czechia-Germany. Surprisingly, Germany, even though their standings don't really indicate it, Germany is ranked higher in the world rankings, while Czechia is ranked number 13. Here's my thing for Czechia. They're going to have to play some darn good ball if they want to make it to the VNL finals. But Germany is definitely no easy customer. I think Czechia is going to have their hands full with them. I really want to see what this Czechia team could do. I think they have the potential. My only problem is that Germany is nowhere near as bad, especially when they have someone like Mimi Veska. But there you have it right there. And then next up, we got Serbia taking on Bulgaria. All right. I want to say Serbia has Tijuana Boskovic, but this might be the case of way too little, far too late, as Serbia and Bulgaria are both 2-6. Look, I like Serbia. I think Serbia is an underrated team, but even if they beat Bulgaria, they need a lot to go their way when it comes to the VNL. So I don't want to say this is kind of a toilet bowl, but this is kind of a for glory bowl. So I hate to say it, but I think no matter whether Serbia wins or not, it's not going to be enough in order for them to make the VNL final. So I think it would just be something good just so they don't get relegated, but we shall see. And then finally, closing off Wednesday's matches, you got the United States taking on Poland. All right, this will be a very fun matchup. And, man, the U.S.'s schedule really picks up after that Dominican Republic match. The Dominican Republic match is probably going to be the matchup where every player gets the rust kicked off of them. And it basically kicks off the cobwebs as well. So, meanwhile, for the Poland-USA matchup, This one's going to be really intense. I mean, Poland is obviously going to be coming off of a matchup against Turkey, while the U.S. is probably going to be coming off of a win over Dominican Republic, Thailand. But barring anything crazy, I think we're going to get ourselves a barn burner when it comes to this matchup. I think USA is really going to have to prove themselves this week because they're in first place, but they have 3 really good opponents. And Poland is ranked number 5 in the world, right behind the U.S., which is ranked number 4 in the world. So I imagine this one's going to be a very, very tough matchup for the United States. And then next up on Thursday, you got Belgium, Canada. I mean, it's another case where Canada needs all the wins that it can get. I mean, this one's not going to be anywhere easy. I mean, Belgium, even though their record is so unindicative of who they truly are, I think they're going to really give Canada a run for their money. Canada needs to be careful with this matchup just because Belgium has a chance to play spoiler. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that matchup. And then after that on Thursday, we've got Japan, Thailand. If Japan loses this matchup, I don't know what to say just because they were at home and Thailand is one of the worst teams in the VNL. So sorry, but it's the truth. Then after that is China, Ukraine. Same with this matchup. China has they have no excuse to win this matchup. I mean, China, to me, this could probably be a tune-up matchup. But you never know with Ukraine just because Ukraine has shown some flashes of brilliance, even though they are a young team. So we'll have to wait and see. Then you got Czechia, Netherlands. All right, this one I think is an elimination matchup. So Czechia, Netherlands. So if we go back, Czechia takes on Japan and the Netherlands takes on France. I imagine, let's say both of those teams win. Both Czechia and Netherlands win. So this matchup would basically be an elimination matchup on who fails to make the VNL finals and who still has a chance. I mean, heck, with any luck, I think Czechia and Netherlands could still be in it regardless of who wins or who loses. But both these teams, this is probably the most underrated matchup of the day right here. And this could probably, like I said, it's an elimination matchup. This basically makes or breaks either team's chances of making the VNL finals. But I think Netherlands is more at full strength than it. I think Netherlands is more at full strength than they were in weeks 2 and 1. Same can be said for Czechia. Like week 3 is the week where we finally get to see the true potential of these teams. After Czechia, Netherlands, you've got Serbia, France. This one's for France. This is kind of a matchup where they need to avoid relegation. And then for Serbia, this is basically for glory. So I wouldn't be surprised if Serbia would try to sit their starters. But then again, if Serbia loses a few matches here and there, and then the other teams pull themselves out of relegation, then they could be relegated. But I think for Serbia, I could expect them to beat France unless Iman Njai has herself a big match for France. But we shall see. And then closing off Thursday's matches, you got USA, Turkey. This one's going to be a very fun matchup. Turkey has kind of been that resilient team that even though their team hasn't really been at full strength, and even though they've suffered injury after injury after injury, they've been super resilient. I mean, they're 6-2 for goodness sake, and they are nowhere near full strength. Meanwhile, for the U.S., this is kind of another prove it to everyone matchup, just because Turkey is actually ranked ahead of them in the world rankings. Turkey is ranked number 3 in the world, while USA is ranked number 4 in the world. So I think this is going to be a very fun matchup, and this could basically determine who possibly gets the number 1 seed of the VNL finals. I mean, this one definitely is going to knock everyone's socks off, so we'll have to wait and see. And then next up on Friday, you got Ukraine versus Dominican Republic. Okay, this one's kind of a toilet bowl right here. It's the first-year team versus Dominican Republic. If there's ever a match for Dominican Republic to win, it's this one. But that being said, I would not underestimate Ukraine by any means, because Ukraine, like I said, I'm going to say this again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Ukraine has shown flashes of brilliance, even though this is their first year in the VNL on the women's side. So Dominican Republic cannot underestimate Ukraine by any means. Now we got a better matchup than Ukraine, Dominican Republic. Poland, Brazil. All right, and this is the Friday matchup. This is in the wee hours of the morning, if you're on the West Coast like me. But For Poland, Brazil, this also has implications of VNL final spots and maybe the top seed of the VNL finals. But here's the thing for Brazil. They come into this week behind the U.S. They know they can't afford too many mishaps. I mean, Brazil's schedule is just as challenging as the United States' schedule. So I think for Brazil, they're going to have the work cut out for them. But same can be said for Poland. But we'll have to wait and see what happens when it comes to both these teams. Also on Friday, you got Belgium versus Italy. This one I feel might be easier said than done when it comes to Italy, just because Italy is a good team. And they get Paula Egonu back from the not available realm. But again, Belgium has Britt Herbots, and she is just a talent unmatched when it comes to Belgium. Belgium is, without Britt Herbots, I think Belgium could be fighting for relegation. But for Belgium, Britt Herbots will do her best to try to will Belgium to the win. I mean, Italy is definitely good. I mean, they've got a lot of returners. They've got most of their team back from last year, as opposed to week 2 and week 1. I mean, Italy should win, but Belgium, I think, is going to keep it tight. And then next up, you got Bulgaria versus Czechia. All right, so let's say Czechia beats Netherlands. If Czechia beats Bulgaria, they put themselves in a good position going forward when it comes to making the VNL finals. But they just can't underestimate Bulgaria by any means. I think Czechia is a good team, but it's just that they just can't afford to take anyone lightly. But that's actually a perfect segue to go into the next matchup, Germany-Netherlands. So I feel this is kind of a mini rivalry matchup. But let's say Netherlands loses to Czechia. So let's say Czechia beats Netherlands, and Netherlands is kind of in must-win mode. So Netherlands would probably hope that Czechia loses to Bulgaria, and then they also got to hope that Canada slips up as well. Only then will we see Netherlands or Czechia slip into the final spot of the VNL finals. And then you could also say the same for the opposite. Let's say Czechia loses to Netherlands. Then Czechia would be in a must-win situation against Bulgaria, and then Netherlands would also have control of their fate of making the VNL finals. So a lot is on the line here when it comes to this week. I mean, Netherlands and Czechia, they've got an important week, and their week kind of favors them for the most part. It all depends on which team comes up big when it matters most. And then next up, you got Thailand, Brazil to close off the Friday matches. If Brazil loses to Thailand, we got to have a talk about Brazil. Then the only way Brazil loses to Thailand is if Brazil is resting their starters. That's the only case. But then again, they are fighting for a spot in the VNL final. So I can't imagine Brazil sitting anybody unless their fate has been sealed when it comes to the VNL finals and their seat is automatically punched in. I can't imagine Brazil sitting anybody. Jumping to Saturday's matches, we've got Italy-Canada. This one's going to be a very fun matchup. So Canada, they're also, like I said, Canada is fighting for the last few spots of the VNL finals. They're the last one in, while Italy still has a chance of clinching the top spot of the VNL finals, or the top seed in the VNL finals. But honestly, this one I think could probably be the match of the day. There's another matchup, but this is probably the second match of the day. The second best match of the day, if not the third best match of the day. But yeah, Canada-Italy I think is going to be fun. I think a lot is going to be determined when it comes to this matchup. I think Italy's seeding purposes are on the line here when it comes to the VNL finals, and then Canada's hopes of making the VNL finals altogether are also on the line here, just because Canada has a tough schedule this week, while Czechia and Netherlands have a very a somewhat favorable schedule this week. Then you got Japan-Turkey. All right, this is another really good matchup on Saturday. I think this matchup is going to be entertaining. And heck, these two teams might, hence the word might, see each other in the VNL finals. Like, let's say Turkey eventually finishes fourth in the VNL standings, while Japan finishes fifth. These two teams could very well rumble again with one another. And I think this is kind of a payback match, because I think Turkey and Japan faced one another in the VNL finals last year. But for Turkey, if they have most of their roster back, then it takes a lot of pressure off of Melissa Vargas. But if they don't, then Melissa Vargas is going to have to play Supergirl. And then also Japan, like I said, they're a very scrappy and very talented team. I mean, there's a reason why they have a good shot at getting the top spot in the VNL finals, but we'll see how it goes. And then after that exciting matchup between Japan and Turkey, we kind of have this matchup, China, Dominican Republic. So again, Dominican Republic is fighting for not being relegated, while China is basically tuning up for the VNL finals. Again, China can go 0-4 this week, and they'd still have their ticket punched. Problem is for China is that they still want to get a better seeding because they know if they draw the number 1 seed, they're going to be getting the likes of either the U.S. or Brazil, and both those teams are really tough. Though I don't think China has faced Brazil faced the United States, but look, I see China winning this matchup. No question about it. And then next up, you've got, I hate to say this is kind of a toilet bowl matchup. Bulgaria, France. I mean, there's no such thing as a toilet bowl matchup, especially for France's sake, since they have to win in order to avoid relegation. Because going into this week, like I mentioned, France is dead last in the VNL standings. So if they lose, they pretty much can kiss the VNL goodbye. But you never know when it comes to this matchup. I mean, chances are it's going to be in a very intense matchup when it comes down to it. I mean, I can see Bulgaria winning, but we'll see how it goes. So you have that match right there, but it's probably going to be a little bit of a stinker. And then you've got Serbia versus Germany. This is another one of those stinker matchups right here. I mean, look, Serbia and Germany are both fighting for glory. I can't really say that they're not like, it's not going to be a good matchup. I mean, Serbia, Germany, it's just not appealing to me. I mean, Germany, there is still a chance for Germany to make the VNL finals. But again, just like I could say this for Belgium as well as Serbia and everyone else below them, they're going to need a lot to go their way. So I think for the likes of Serbia and Germany, this is going to be a for glory matchup. I mean, unless Germany could run the table, I just don't see either of these teams making the VNL finals. Then you got Belgium, Ukraine, which is another one of those matchups. I mean, let me just talk about this matchup. Belgium, they're going to be playing for glory. It's another for glory matchup. And for Ukraine, I think they've kind of come to the conclusion that they're not going to make the VNL finals. But here's the thing about Ukraine. They know this is their first year in the VNL. They want to make a statement to everybody that next year the future looks bright for them, and next year they're not to be underestimated. They are going to be one of the top contenders, kind of like Ukraine on the men's side. I mean, obviously you still got the likes of Italy, Brazil, United States, Turkey, Poland, Japan to contend with next year. But Ukraine wants to send the message to everyone that they are going to be here next year. And I'm actually going to skip over the match of the day on Saturday and then jump to Thailand, Turkey. Long story short, if Turkey loses this matchup, then it's probably because they're either resting their starters, they're resting Melissa Vargas, or they just caught themselves on a bad night. Either way, I see Turkey beating Thailand. I just don't see how Thailand doesn't beat Turkey. And now for the match of the week. And notice how I said match of the week, not match of the day. The United States taking on Brazil. All right, on Saturday, this could be the match for the number 1 seed of the VNL finals. I mean, Brazil and the United States have a daunting schedule going into this week. Like, their schedule is so brutal this week. Like, you never know if either of these teams are going to be making it out alive, or this could be actually the match for the number 1 overall seed of the VNL finals. But man, United States, Brazil, we know that this rivalry is so intense, but this rivalry is going to get cranked up to 11 with the number 1 seed on the line. Now, imagine if this was played in the United States or Brazil. I actually don't want to think about that, but I digress. But for the United States, Brazil, this one is going to be a very fun matchup. I seriously can't wait for this matchup. And honestly, I think this one can go either way. So we'll see if the United States can actually pull off the win or if Brazil will really prove to everyone that they are going to win this whole thing. Because I think for Brazil, I think the mentality, I don't want to say the mentality is gold medal or bust, but I think for Brazil, I think they want to win gold and prove to everyone that they are the best in the world. And then jumping over to Sunday's matches, you've got Canada, Dominican Republic. Canada should win that one. This is probably I wouldn't say this is a layup, but Dominican Republic's fighting to not get relegated. So I imagine Canada wins this matchup. And if the chips align their way, they could be in the VNL finals, but that's a big could. Next up is Japan-Poland on Sunday. This could also be determined for the VNL finals, a VNL final spot, or determined for the final VNL spot in terms of the final standings. Heck, these two teams could also face one another in the VNL finals, because this could be a preview of the VNL finals just because Japan and Poland are 4 and 5 respectively in the VNL standings. So this could honestly be a preview of a VNL quarterfinals match, which I think can be really fascinating if you ask me. Then you got France, Czechia. France is fighting for not to get relegated, while Czechia is also fighting to make it to the VNL finals. And I guess on that note, let's jump to the other matchup, Serbia, Netherlands. So, God, Netherlands and Czechia both have favorable schedules, and they also face one another this week. So one team will at least be 3-1. Well, I mean, one team will probably be 4-0, and then the other team will be 3-1 this week. I mean, but then again, you also could see either of these teams slipping out. But either way, not much is separating Netherlands and Czechia. But also, Netherlands and Czechia are going to be rooting for Canada's demise. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, Turkey also has a challenging schedule this week too. But honestly, I think for Czechia and Netherlands, they have to control their own fate. They just can't afford to have anyone else doing their dirty work. But Czechia should be able to beat France. Now, Netherlands taking on Serbia is kind of an interesting matchup. I feel this one, I think it'll be is going to be easier said than done. I think for Netherlands, this is a very tough matchup right here, just because Serbia doesn't have a whole lot to play for, but that makes them so dangerous. While Netherlands could be fighting for the VNL finals on the final day of the regular season. But if Netherlands finds themselves in a position where they're 3-0 and they just need to win, or they're in a position where all they just need is 1 point, then I think Netherlands could be in control of their own fate. But you can also say the same thing for Czechia, just because France is fighting not to get relegated. So there's actually a lot more on the line when it comes to Czechia's matches and Netherlands matches, as well as France's matches. So we'll see how it goes. And then before I get on into the best match of Sunday for this Sunday, I'll go over Bulgaria, Germany. Bulgaria, Germany, I think is going to be a for glory matchup. There's not much to be said when it comes to this matchup. Both these teams, I mean, like I said, Germany would need everything to go right for them in order to make the VNL finals. Well, Bulgaria would need everything to go right for them and then some. But I just don't see it happening. And then finally, we have China versus Italy. I know this isn't the matchup that closes off the VNL, but I want to say I saved this matchup for last. I think this matchup, as well as Japan-Poland, are the two matches of the day on Sunday. I imagine this is probably going to be another big test for China. I mean, China's already into the VNL finals. For Italy, however, they may not have clinched their desired spot. Like, they may want to get the number 2 seed to avoid maybe China, just because China could also finish number 7, and then they could face Italy again in the VNL finals. But at the same time, Italy might be fighting for the number 2 seed to get a higher seed and a better matchup in the quarterfinals. And maybe they maybe want to avoid the 4 seed, but I think for Italy, they just don't want to play anyone and then risk them getting hurt. But I think this is a good final tune-up matchup for both of these teams. I think for Italy, they're a very good team, especially now that Paula Egonu is back on the roster. And then China is also pretty darn good themselves, and they're going to be tough as the host team. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to China, Italy. But that's pretty much all of the women's VNL matches for week 3. So basically, like the title says, trials and relegations. There's going to be relegations when it comes to the VNL after this week, and then also for the trials, you've got teams fighting for their VNL finals lives and fighting for VNL finals positioning. But nothing's really guaranteed. No one has clinched a spot in the VNL finals, so we'll have to wait and see when it comes to the teams that have not clinched a spot in the VNL finals that are so close. Like, for example, the United States and Brazil are basically knocking on the door. The only way they don't make the VNL finals is if they lose out and then everything just does not go their way. But yeah, for teams like Italy, but basically 3 down all the way to number 10, those teams definitely have a good shot at making the VNL finals. Those teams 3 through 6 are basically definite hopefuls of making it, or most likely going to make it. And then 7 and 8 are most likely going to make it, barring collapse. And then 9 through 10 is basically they need to win out and maybe get a little bit of help. And then 11, 12 are basically the teams that need a miracle and then some. And then basically teams 13 through 16 are the teams that are, I've already gone over the VNL standings, but teams 13 through 16 are the teams that are saying better luck next year or we're playing for glory. And then teams 17 and 18 are basically fighting not to get relegated. But I think this week is going to determine a whole lot. And yeah, I think this is basically what it's all about when it comes to the VNL. Not fighting to not get relegated and also fighting not to, fighting to make the VNL finals. So there you go. All right, but that'll do it for the VNL portion of the show. Obviously, you can watch all the action on Volleyball TV. If you haven't gotten your subscription, you definitely should. But on that note, let's take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some AVP League 2 preview, and then I'll send you all on your way. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at iSports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iSportsRadio.com. At iSportsRadio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to iSports Radio, definitely do so. And if you aren't following iSports Radio on social media, aka Instagram and on X, definitely do so. And once again, if you have subscribed and you are following iSports Radio on social media, you are awesome. But thank you again to everyone at iSports Radio for doing their part, especially Larry B. Once again, thank you to Larry B for the kick butt intro. I really do appreciate it. And I know everyone's pretty much watching the World Cup matchup between the United States and Belgium, but I have to go live just because I'm not going to postpone set point by any means. I mean, I could probably do it. I probably could have done it tomorrow, but it is what it is. But thank you to the 57 viewers that are watching. I really do appreciate it. So let's get back into the action when it comes to set point. We are in the second half of set point. So let's actually preview week 5 of the AVP. So this week, the AVP is heading to Long Beach, and I am so excited for this just because I get to be going to this matchup. I'm going to be covering the AVP League in Long Beach, baby. So basically, this is going to be played at Alamitos Beach, for those that are wondering. So I actually do want to read off the AVP schedule when it comes to, or the AVP details when it comes to the AVP League. So AVP League Week 5. So we're already at the halfway point of, well, we're past the halfway point of the AVP League. So join us for AVP League Week 5 on the beautiful beaches of Long Beach, California. This will take place on the same beach as the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic beach volleyball venue. Get your tickets now, as this event is sure to sell out. So I'm already going to be there in person as a member of the media. I am so excited. Here's the thing, however. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be there on Sunday. Saturday, I have something to take care of. So on Saturday, I'm going to be gone all day. And it really sucks just because I really wish I could have gone to the AVP League on Saturday. It's been a minute since I've been to an AVP League event. The last time I went to an AVP League event was the inaugural AVP League finals back when it was in its infancy stages. But I'm excited to come out to Alamitos Beach, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. And I didn't know this was going to be the site of the 2028 Olympics, but then again, it is going to be in Los Angeles, and technically Long Beach is in the Los Angeles area, but I digress. So the matchup schedule is the LA Launch, or the Los Angeles Launch, taking on the Brooklyn Blaze, and then you got the Miami Mayhem and the Dallas Dream, and then you got the LA Launch, the Miami Mayhem, and then the Brooklyn Blaze and the Dallas Dream. So looking at at all these teams, we all got to refresh our memory on who these teams are and who these players are. So the LA Launch consists of Maddie Anderson and Elena Chacon. Both of those players played at Florida State. Both of them are dynamite. And then you also got Hagen Smith, which was named the 2025 AVP Best Server. And then you got Logan Weber, who is also one of the better beach volleyball players in the United States at the very least. Then you got the Brooklyn Blaze with Lexi Denenberg and Julia Donlin. I got to give them a shout out as well. They actually finished 4th in Gastad. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. But they finished 4th in a recent beach volleyball tournament. They did lose to TKN in the semifinals, and they eventually did finish 4th. But still a very good, promising showing for them, just because it's their first tournament together. And yeah, I think they definitely have great team chemistry with one another. So Lexi Denenberg and Julia Donlin are, you all got to remember that they were AVP League champions on the women's side last year. Then you also got Derek Bradford and Evan Corey, who are definitely putting together something good in terms of their team chemistry this year. I think they definitely are a pair to watch for. And I know everyone will want to say, everyone will want me to interview Derek Bradford just because of his deep voice. But I think, why do people always gotta make note of that? I think it's pretty funny, but I think it's also pretty cool. It's also pretty cool and pretty smooth. It's basically soothing as well. I should stop. But either way, yeah, Derek Bradford and Evan Corey are also on the Brooklyn Blaze. Now for the Miami Mayhem. This is probably the most Olympic-filled roster of the 4 teams. So Miami Mayhem consists of Kelly Chang, who was a 2023 world champion and a 2024 Olympian for the Paris Olympics. Then you got her partner Megan Kraft, who I think she's a an Olympic hopeful. I think she's going to make the Olympics just because, I mean, it all depends on who her partner is going to be. Normally, primarily her partner was Therese Cannon, but then Therese did get injured. So Kraft had to eventually partner up with Kelly Cheng. And Kelly Cheng's original partner was Sarah Hughes. And then poor Sarah got hurt to start, I think it was last year, but now she's back and better than ever. So these two are definitely have a lot of good team chemistry with one another. And I would not be surprised if both of these two were to be hopefuls to make the Olympics as partners together. But a lot can happen in the span from now all the way to the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. So we'll see. Then also on the Miami Mayhem, you've got Taylor Crabb and Andy Benish. So Taylor Crabb is a 6-time AVP Best Defensive Player. And you also got Andy Benish, who is a 2024 Paris Olympian, who was partnered with Miles Partain, which I'll get into in a little bit. But Taylor Crabb, 6-time AVP Best Defensive Player. This guy knows this guy is just a baller, straight out of and this is kind of a homecoming for him, just because he went to Long Beach State. He was a stud for Alan Knight back in his days. I think it was an All-American. I think it was like 2 or 3-time All-American. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I digress. But either way, that's the Miami Mayhem. And then last but not least, the Dallas Dream. You got Kylie DeBerg, who is one of the more up-and-coming players. I definitely think she has a lot of upside to her game. She's had a lot of partners in the past, like Haley Harward, but I think she definitely is getting off the ground. And her partner is Betsy Flint, who is a 6-time AVP champion, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. And that type of experience is the type of experience you want as a partner. Then as for the rest of the Dallas Dream, you got Paul Lotman, who was just recently inducted into Long Beach State's Hall of Fame, and he was a 2012 Olympian in terms of indoor men's volleyball. And then you also had Miles Partain, who is the 2024 AVP MVP, and he's also a 2024 Olympian for the Paris Olympics. So there you have it right there. That's pretty much all of your rosters right there. We all had to get ourselves resituated just because it's been a minute since we've talked some AVP. I think it's been 3 weeks since we've talked some AVP. So there you go. But yeah, the AVP League is back, ladies and gentlemen. It is back and better than ever. So let's actually go over the matchups, and then basically that's going to be it. We didn't really have too much happening. I mean, there was some JOs happening this week in terms of like boys volleyball, but nothing too out of the ordinary in terms of like, and then like I said, there was some League One volleyball news happening in terms of like players coming and going, and then new board members of new teams and whatnot. So there you go. So the first matchup will be on Saturday. You've got the LA Launch taking on the Brooklyn Blaze, which will be on the men's side. You got Hagen Smith and Logan Weber taking on Derek Bradford and Evan Corey. And then after that, on the women's side, you got Maddie Anderson and Lynette Chacon taking on Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin. And then also on Saturday, you have the Miami Mayhem taking on the Dallas Dream. You got Andy Benish and Taylor Crabb taking on Miles Partain and Paul Lotman, which I think is really cool. And that one I think is going to be an exciting matchup just because Miles and Andy know one another. And I think Paul has been partnered with Andy or Taylor in the past, at least through one tournament. But either way, I think it's going to be a very exciting matchup just because you've got Long Beach State royalty on both sides. And then you've got two Olympians that were once partners with one another facing off against one another, which I think is really cool. And then closing off Saturday's matches, you've got Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft taking on Kylie DeBerg and Betsy Flint. This one I think will be an interesting matchup. I mean, I imagine the Dallas Dream is going to need to pick up their gameplay. I mean, Kylie DeBerg and Betsy Flint do have some sort of a few wins under their belt, but this is going to be a very tough matchup. I mean, you're facing an Olympian and an Olympic hopeful. And while you do have one of the more seasoned vets when it comes to the AVP, Megan Kraft and Kelly Cheng both have great team chemistry with one another. So their work's going to be cut out for them tenfold. And then on Sunday, which is going to be the day that I attend, you got Hagen Smith and the LA Launch taking on the Miami Mayhem. You got Hagen Smith and Logan Weber taking on Andy Benish and Taylor Crabb on the men's side. Then on the women's side, you got Maddie Anderson and Elena Chacon taking on Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft. So that matchup, Anderson and Chacon versus Cheng and Kraft, that's actually the FSU versus USC matchup, which both Anderson and Chacon both went to Florida State, while Cheng and Kraft both went to USC. So, and we all knew Florida State has beaten USC the past 2 seasons in the NCAA beach volleyball tournament. So I think it might be personal for Cheng and Kraft when it comes to this matchup, but we'll see. And then closing off the AVP League week number 5, which is going to make me sad face. You got the Brooklyn Blaze taking on the Dallas Dream. On the men's side, you got Derek Bradford and Evan Corey taking on Paul Ottman and Miles Partain. And then closing off all the matches altogether, you got on the women's side, Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin taking on Kylie DeBerg and Betsy Flint. And Betsy Flint, and this matchup is going to be really unique. So Betsy Flint and Julia Donlin both were former partners before Betsy was on maternity leave, and then Donlin needed a partner and then decided to partner with Lexi Denneberg. So I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup. Donlin knows Flint's play style, while Flint knows Donlin's play style. I think this is going to be a very unique matchup. I mean, this is going to basically determine – I mean, you've got experience with Flint, and then you've got youthful talent with DeBerg, and then you've got great team chemistry with Donlin and Denneberg. So that's going to be a very fun matchup right there, and I'm excited for that matchup. I mean, most of these there's some storylines within some of these matchups when it comes to this week's AVP League. So there you go. But looking at the league standings, I mean, it's not really justified just because not a lot of teams have played a whole lot. Like, for example, the Palm Beach Passion has played the most matches. Well, Palm Beach Passion and New York Nitro have played the most matches. The Passion are 9-3, while the Nitro are 2-10. Then you got the San Diego Smash, which has only played 4 matches, and then the Austin Aces have only played 4 matches as well. And then the Mayhem and the Dream, along with the Launch and the Blaze, they've played 8 matches. So I imagine we should have seen the Austin Aces and the San Diego Smash. But it is what it is, and sometimes we just can't play picky and whatnot. So I'm excited for this week. I just really can't wait to see the action and follow the action and bring you all the content on Sunday, just because I don't really cover the AVP League a lot, just because I don't really have enough time, and it's not in my area, which really sucks. But I am going to pack some sunscreen, that's for sure, just because I don't want to be sunburnt like I did last time I went to an AVP event. So pack your sunscreen, pack some cool water, and make sure you're safe, just because it's hot today, and I imagine it's going to be hot the rest of the summer. So there you go. All right, but that is that for the AVP League. So that's pretty much that for everything regarding the AVP. I mean, there was actually an AVP tournament last week. Like, some of these tournaments aren't really all that notable. Like, the AVP doesn't really follow it closely, which I think is a bummer if you ask me. Like, for example, you don't really see that on the website. Like, all you really see are the heritage tournaments and the AVP League tournaments. It sucks, because I really think every AVP tournament deserves some recognition. I mean, you've got there was a tournament from Aspen, Colorado, then Belmar, New Jersey. I'm sorry, these are the AVP League events. I'm sorry. But yeah, the only big time event that the only big time AVP tournament event that we've seen is the Huntington Beach Open, which is a bummer, just because that's obviously a big event, but it doesn't really carry the water like all the other heritage tournaments does or do. Like, the only big-time heritage event that's worth noting, other than the Huntington Beach Open, is the Manhattan Beach Open. And that's something I don't even know if I'm going to be able to attend, just because, well, for starters, I'm busy in the fall covering NCAA women's volleyball and other things of that sort. But anyway, the AVP League Championship is going to be on September 5th and September 6th. There's a lot of uniqueness when it comes to it. So there's obviously going to be a women's champion and then a men's championship. And then you obviously, I also forgot to upload when it comes to the show, the AVP League standings when it comes to the men's side and the women's side, which is, oops, my bad. This is what happens when I don't talk about the AVP League for the last 3 weeks, but I digress. But yeah, there's going to be a men's tournament and then a women's tournament. I think it's going to be like top 4 teams play in the tournament. And then eventually it should be televised on the CW. I imagine it's not going to be on their YouTube channel. And then for the whole team, for the whole men's and women's combined, it's basically going to be a regular season event. Whoever has the best record will win, I think, the AVP League Commissioner's Cup or something like that. I'll just call it the Beaches Cup. But either way, it's basically the men's and women's team that has the best record at the end of the AVP League. They win the whole thing. They win the whole regular season title. But there's a men's tournament and a women's tournament that gets divided, and then basically it splits up. And yeah, it splits up, and then it basically boils down to the last pair standing wins. So there you go. But yeah, that's basically that for the AVP League in a nutshell. And yeah, that basically is going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I mean, there's also the US U21 team that's playing this week, which is comprised of some of the best college players, NCAA college women's volleyball players, and the best young talent there is to offer. So there's going to be that to keep an eye on for this week. But other than that, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Don't get used to these shorter episodes. Then don't get used to these shorter episodes too much, just because next week I should be back on my regularly scheduled program where we recap the women's side and then preview the men's side, and then eventually vice versa for next week. But yeah, soon we'll be getting some NCAA women's volleyball action, and then we'll be back to starting up the new season of Set Point. I think it'll be season 7, if not season 8 of Set Point. But until then, that'll do it for this week. I'm your host, Teran Rodriguez. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy all the volleyball action, and hopefully you all survived the 4th, because I certainly did. Have a great week, everybody. Peace!
Set Point, turn it up, let's go! IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. From the high school gyms to the college lights, from the beach in the sun to the world stage bright, every serve, every spike, every rally on fire. Teran Rodriguez takes the game even higher. NCAA men, NCAA women too. Beach volleyball, AVP and the pro leagues breaking through. La la vie, international Olympic dreams inside. If it's volleyball, we're talking all night. Set point, we're live tonight with Teran Rodriguez bringing volleyball live. IE Sports Radio, feel that energy. Your direct feed for all that is sports. That's the king. Set point, the net is tight. Serve it, spike it, bring the heat all night. From the sand to the court, let the whole world know. Set Point's here. Let's start the show. One ball, one court, one voice, one sound. Volleyball family, gather around. Every block, every ace, every championship round.